An organization called.
Let's start the recording so we can put that on there.
Sure.
So you can have all the time you want, but I just
Okay.
Oh, never mind. We are recording.
We are recording. Yay!
So go ahead,
Jeremy.
I'm
in my bed office because I've just been working as soon as I got up. Because I so I have this whole weekend off today, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, in order to get some things done. And some of the fellows are getting together to do some play testing this weekend. The ones that were on the launch party. Anyway, so organization, by the way, my allergies are killing me this morning. I don't know what's going on. An organization called RPG. So there's been an extensive amount of study done in the past about the socio-psychological benefits of role-playing games to people young and old. And there's an organization called RPG Research since 2003 that has done extensive studies and research on it. And they really have some great material. And they reached out to me. Well, we met through somebody mutual. And so we had a great conversation yesterday about because they did one study specific to deaf people, ironically. And that was about 4 years ago. And it was a short-lived study, but it still showed significant benefits. But I'm gonna use it as part of there's an ASL messaging that I'm putting out here soon, just in ASL. My video, the Kickstarter video, has a portion in ASL. I'm going to do video just in ASL, and I'm going to hit this socio-psychological benefit to role-playing games for people to be able to. It runs the spectrum from any mental health disability, from social skills, minor social skills, all the way to extreme OCD or extreme ADHD, and the benefits that role-playing games have for those people, because they're essentially putting on another character so they don't have to live in their own brains about something, and it allows them to create another persona, not as something like multiple personality, but another persona in order to try things out, and then they're able to try things out in the real world. Anyway, it was a great conversation. They're going to do an interview with me for the work with the deaf community, so it's like that was exciting conversation.
While you're talking, why don't you give us an update on the Kickstarter?
So the Kickstarter is still fully funded. It continues to grow incrementally, but not like majorly. There's some people that haven't put funds in yet that have funds out there waiting to put in. They're going to do it however they're going to do it. Some of them through you, Sandy. And that person is simply a technology situation where she can't figure it out. And so we'll work it out either through you guys or however that works. Or it can be just separately given to me. There's several organizations that have paperwork in to them, meaning deaf organizations, to have funding put in from them. The next thing, I have several podcast interviews, including the RPG Research guys. I have one this Sunday that's specific to gaming. So there was 2 specific to gaming. I did one already. That was a blast. We're doing one this weekend.
When you start putting the link, when you know where they're going to be, can you put the link in the group so we can?
I think that I did. I think I did. If I didn't, I will look and I will put the link.
Just tag me then, so it goes on my main profile page.
Oh, okay.
As well, because that will get more people that way.
Okay, great. And then there is. I decided to do the 2 things that I decided to alter from my. So my marketing plan for it was all laid out day by day, and it's been going great. And though there's 2 additional things that I'm doing. One of them is more extensive than the other, but one of them is a message directly in ASL. So I'm going to film that possibly this morning before I get to work on some other stuff. We'll see. Or it might be tomorrow morning. Anyway, it's going to come out early next week. That's going to address some of the it's going to give information, because deaf people are scratching their heads a little bit going, I don't even know what you're talking about, Jerry. I don't know what a role-playing game is. I mean, a lot of hearing people don't know what a role-playing game is. Then the deaf community, they really don't have access to it. So giving them comparatives is really important. So I'll give them comparatives to Dungeons & Dragons. I'm sure many of them have watched Stranger Things if they're nerdy enough. And of course, the kids in the game kids in the show are playing Dungeons and Dragons, so that gives them an idea of what's going on and what this is about. Then I can give them specific information like on the socio-psychological benefits to deaf children and adults. And then I'm going to address some of their questions, because the gaming deaf groups did ask me some very good questions. Number one being, what are you going to do with the money if it doesn't fully fund? So if you get 10,000 of the 17,000, what do you do with that money? Because you didn't fulfill your stretch goal. So I'll just explain that money still goes to the ASL edition no matter what. And then I seek other funding for the remainder amount. There's total Indiegogo. There's a lot of other places we can do funding for the ASL edition. And plus I've gone after all of the VRS providers to provide a chunk of money into it as well. So that paperwork is just in process. So I'll let them know that no matter what, whatever that additional funding is still goes to it. It's just maybe takes a little bit longer because I'll have to seek additional funding until it's fully fulfilled. Then the other question they had is it really accessibility? Because you got a book we can read. Well, yes, and not all deaf people are created equal. And so can we agree that all deaf people are not created equal? So a book is not accessible to, it's not accessible to 80-90% of the deaf community. I get you nerdy deaf people can read, no problem, got it. And I get that you're thinking you're the status quo for this. There's a lot of deaf people out there. That's another interesting conversation, because those guys were like, well, I mean, we're able to do it, and we're we're the gamers. It almost became this exclusivity of, why would we have the access to it? Why would we give it to anybody else? Almost like we're special in our own community to be able to read something as dense as a role-playing game book. And then when I was able to help them see, well, what if it was accessible to all deaf people, and how beneficial it would be? It was a good conversation. And then the last thing is, why is there a soundtrack? And why does the soundtrack come first before the ASL edition? And I said, well, can we also establish that deaf people don't all have the same hearing level, and that there are deaf people that would very much enjoy the music? And these things are not exclusive. So the soundtrack is not just for hearing people, and the ASL edition is not just for deaf people, because there's hearing signers like myself and many hearing signers that would play the game in ASL with deaf people. So they're not exclusive to one or the other. Oh, okay. So I just answered those questions in that ASL messaging. So I'm going to do that, and that'll come out early next week. The other thing that comes out by the end of next week is an introduction to Planetbound. I decided to use the marketing technique of give them all the goods for free, right? And then leave them wanting more. So I put together an introduction. It's called the Introduction to Planetbound, or Introduction to Planetbound. And it will be the first publication on DriveThruRPG. So it'll have my store, it'll open my store on DriveThruRPG, and it'll be just a downloadable. So it's just an electronic book of what's called the Introduction to Planetbound. And it gives them everything about the rule system portion of the game. It's all of the system is in there, plus a little bit of the story and a little bit of the characters that they can play, and a little bit of the archetypes that they can play, just a little bit of the novelization session to leave them wanting more. And I'll put that up for free to go, hey, because that's what everybody asks about. Tell me about the crunch, meaning the rules and mechanics. I want to see the character sheet. That's how I'm going to know if I'm going to like this game. Okay, great. I'll give you that portion of the game for free. It's a great freebie, and then it'll funnel to the Kickstarter from DriveThruRPG. DriveThruRPG has the mass amount of traffic for role-playing games, so people will go there. Oh, there's a new free introduction to a game. Let's check this game out, and then that introduction funnels them to the Kickstarter. Eventually, I'll change that, and the introduction will just funnel them to the game once the game's out. But it's a great freebie. I have a freebie, but it's not as powerful as that freebie. It's not giving them the goods and then leaving them wanting more. So that's what I've shifted. Some of the work on the book has gone on hold to finish the Introduction to Planetbound, which I'm finishing this weekend with Travis.
So October 8th will be the official book launch, right?
No. So October 8th finishes the Kickstarter. Okay. By the end of October is the book launch. Somewhere, I don't have a date yet.
Oh, okay.
So between October 8th and the October 31st, sometime in there is because I got to get proofs from, it goes back and forth between me and DriveThruRPG to get the final copy of the book And then once that's done, then we can launch it officially.
And then and Amy's been doing a great job of putting the upcoming events
Yes.
on the emails that go out.
Yes.
Amy, can you add the one that we talked about yesterday with Rox and Charles? Can you add that later? I don't remember the date. Do you remember the date in October when we're launching, when we're doing the cover reveal? It was like the second. Oh, it was the second, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's right. Okay. So October 2nd will be the Rox and Charles, the Enigma series. This will be book number 12 in their series that actually launches January 7th, 2021. But because we want it to be in pre-order for as long as possible. And so for those of you that did not hear me when I said this the other day, I did do some research. I did email Amazon and said, because I kept hearing all these different amounts of time that you could have a book in a pre-order status and have all of the proceeds from the purchases made during pre-order, have those all go into your bucket on the day the book is launched. So it counts towards your bestseller ranking. It counts towards your just plain sales ranking, period. All of that. And so I kept hearing that 90 days was the maximum and all this other. And so I just sent them an email and I have it in writing where they said it's 1 year. So you can actually have a book, which I thought this was phenomenal. If you've got a book that's going to come out in 2021 that's really ready, you could go ahead and put it on for pre-order now and get money for the whole time. So, because you just promote the pre-order instead of the book itself. So anyway, for Rox and Charles, we will be doing the cover reveal on October 2nd, and January 7th will be the launch of the book. So we have October, November, and December. We have 90 days of pre-orders that we will be working on as we promote the upcoming launch and all the rest of it. So that we'll put on there. Did we have David Fallour's on there, Amy? His is October 17th.
Right. I haven't put any of the October ones on, but I'll do that for Monday. I'll put
Oh, okay. Okay. Sorry. I just thought you had everything that we knew about coming. So
no, I honestly forget that we're so close to the end of September because, I mean, we're like.
Oh, no, that's fine. That's fine, though.
Yeah.
That's fine. So just when you do put it up, then we'll do David's and Rox and Charles. And do we have anybody else in October?
Not that I know of. No.
Okay. So
Well, they're planet bound. We just don't have a date yet.
Yeah. So okay, Jared. But we do have your October 8th though on the calendar, right?
For the completion of the Kickstarter, yeah, it's
Okay.
actually the 9th, but
Oh, the 9th. Okay.
Yeah.
Sandy, you and I had talked about maybe doing something on the weekend of October. I can't remember the date. I don't have the calendar in front of me.
You said the 18th because they're doing something on the 17th.
They're doing something on the 16th, but we were talking Sunday afternoon, but I'm not convinced that's the best time, so I'm open for discussion on that.
Okay, so let's you and I and Amy talk about it then.
Yeah.
So sometime that weekend, October 17th, 18th, we'll be doing a launch for Kathy's book. We have David Fallour is actually that night, right? 7 o'clock.
David Fallour's the 17th at 7, yes. And then Kathy, your book goes live on the 12th, right, on Columbus Day?
Well, maybe. The publisher called yesterday to say that the print shop is closed down because of COVID, and they're maybe pushing the pub date back 10 to 20 days.
Then we don't want to have
So,
it on the 18th then.
well, I'm pushing them to at least have the ebook ready.
Oh, okay. So you can let me know. Just so
Yeah, I'm in heavy conversations with a variety of people about that today because I understand about COVID, but the advanced release copies were supposed to be ready last April.
That's true.
So
Oh gosh.
I'm pondering what I want to do next. So I'm still moving forward book launch because they tell me that the ebook version at least will be available.
Okay.
Okay, Sandy, We also have David Balog's book on Halloween.
Oh, we do. Thank you. Halloween. Is it going to be Friday or Saturday?
Don't know what day Halloween is. I think it's Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah, Halloween's on a
And
Saturday.
my ebook is ready today, but I still have to go through some steps before.
Your ebook or your
Sorry,
audio?
my audiobook.
Okay. So yeah, well, so at some point in October we'll have Julie's, we'll have Kathy's, we'll have David Fleur's, and we'll have
We have Meg from Inkling. So our October just got booked. Right. I love it.
so Amy, so all of the authors that can, we want to have them on Author Talk as well. So we already have David booked.
We have David. Kathy is this Monday is Kathy Horizon. So then I will get in touch with everybody else to book out October.
Okay, sounds good. Wow, we are just moving forward towards the end of this year, which this is a great time to say that is what we're discussing today. But yeah, so Amy, Halloween, I don't know if we need to check on the date and the time for David's.
Yeah, we may do it the day before Halloween because,
We do not want
we don't
doorbell
know what's
to be
happening on
ringing with
Halloween.
everybody. That's true. My doorbell rings every 30 seconds, it seems like.
Not this year. Not this year.
Well, not this year. A lot of people
Well,
are saying you can't go
true.
trick or treating.
That's true. Oh, we always look forward to the little kids because
Well, I live on a very busy street and no one ever trick or treats on my street, which I found
Really?
out when I moved to the house. Yeah, we moved to the house. We bought a bunch of candy and all that kind of stuff and found out since I live on the main thoroughfare, no one trick or treats on my house. Everybody goes into the neighborhood to trick or treat. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I live one street in, and I can see the cars lined up, bringing their kids in to let them off or to walk with them through the cul-de-sac. We live on a cul-de-sac, so they walk through there. So yeah, it's busy, busy, busy. Okay, so that's good. So we'll get we got October all wrapped up, and so now I do want to talk about just each person spend just a couple of minutes because I want to make sure that each time we have the mastermind, you all get a chance to talk. And so since we will be very shortly moving into fourth quarter, October, November, December, that's fourth quarter. And we know we don't even have to remember what a year this has been. But in spite of COVID, in spite of any other thing that could be going on, hurricanes, we have another hurricane. Somebody sent me a note, said we have another hurricane in the Gulf. I haven't even looked at that. So we've had more hurricanes this year than in I forget how many years. So in spite of all that, what are we going to be doing for the 3 months to either sell books, create speaking gigs, get on podcasts, something to promote you and make you visible and known to your potential readers? So I'm going to start with Greg. Greg always gets here early, so he's always in the top row. And so Greg, because I want you to make this your intention, okay? You will be working on this. You will be creating this for this quarter. So Greg, what are you going to be doing in fourth quarter to end this year on some level of success?
Well, one, I'm getting close to the end of my book 3 of the Alonica series. It's going to be a short one, so I'm going to go ahead and finish that off and get it ready. I'll have to do some editing because there's some things that I want to change already. 2, Beaumont Comic Con is a go. They just sent a message out yesterday. They're going to be doing state and city mandates for the COVID. So I'm definitely going to that, getting prepped up.
What are the mandates?
It depends on what it is for when it starts. It's November 7th and 8th. So it's still a month and a half away.
Okay.
So I'm definitely looking forward to that.
I know. I bet you are, because just getting out of the house sounds great, doesn't it? I mean,
Yes. October 3rd, of course, is a virtual book fest with Authors Marketing Guild. That's going to
have you
be,
heard anything about that recently?
supposedly you have to have your own Zoom, which
How do you
they're
have
going to
your
go.
own? They're going to go from one Zoom to another Zoom?
I don't know how he's going to do it, but he was going to do it certain rooms, but the cost was just too much. So, like
I'm
I
going to
said,
check with him. I'm going to check with him. I just talked to Roxanne about that yesterday because I have breakout rooms on my Zoom, and he's welcome to use that. So I'll get in touch with Alan and see.
He sent me an email to see if I was going to participate, but I got the impression he was talking about an in-person event down in Galveston, and I declined. I said, I can't risk it.
no, I think Julie's actually a part of this one.
Julie, Julie, what's the latest that you've heard?
He sent an email just like Greg is saying, and saying he had wanted to have rooms, but Zoom has upped its prices and he can't afford to do that. So he had offered everyone an option. You can either have 10 minutes during this 2-hour block that the Zoom is going to be, or you can have more time in your own Zoom room. Now, I don't understand the mechanics of it, of how I think you just have a link and send people
You
who are
have to have a link
interested to
invite them, yeah.
another Zoom. That's what I
Correct.
understood from that.
Yeah.
But if you don't have your own Zoom capability, you're pretty much stuck with the 10-minute within the 2-hour block, which is okay with me. I mean,
What was he charging for that?
it's
Nothing.
free.
The 10-minute thing is free?
The
The
whole
Zoom-
thing is free.
Your own Zoom room is also free?
No,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
your Zoom room.
Well, it depends because I have Zoom for free, but
Yeah.
I have to have a passcode regardless. So they're going to have to enter the passcode if they want to enter my room, and you're only allowed to have 3 people.
At a time. Yeah,
Correct.
that's right. He said you could have up to 40 minutes with the free Zoom.
Yeah, that's the free version. Yeah. The paid is pretty much unlimited. Yeah.
No, it's not unlimited. I'm limited to 100, which, for now that is unlimited.
Yeah.
But I have
Yeah.
been on some. I was on one recently where she said, I don't know why, but something told me, it was Kelly McCausey, Jeremy. She said something told me to up mine from 100, and she had like almost 200 people that participated in the
Wow.
free conference. So it was her exposure and profit that she has every year, and she had it virtual, and it was free. So so she had about 200 people. So she said if she had not thought about that, then anybody over 100 just gets, and I don't know what message you get because I don't think I've ever had over 100, but anyway, so but I'm looking in here now. I forgot where the rooms are actually. Amy, do you remember where the rooms are? Because maybe they did take those away.
Down at the bottom, it says, like for me, it's record and then breakout rooms and reactions. And then I can click on breakout rooms.
Okay, well, I don't have breakout rooms. Do you still have it?
I do. Yeah.
Oh, that's because
I logged in first.
That's because you're logged in. Yeah. Okay. So, but so I'm going to call in because they have not increased my price at all. And I think we have 3 breakout rooms. Is that right, Amy?
I can make as many and put as many participants in there, but we pay for the one where I think we can have 500 to 1,000 people. I think that's what we pay, and then I can put them in rooms.
Okay. So for a webinar, we can only have 100, but I don't know if you're having I don't know. Anyway, Amy and I'll find out about it, but I am going to contact Alan and tell him if he wants to use my Zoom for that few hours, I'm fine if he does that. So anyway, so that's where we're back to Greg and his intentions for fourth quarter. So that is one of the things. And so Greg, will you remind me if you haven't gotten any notice from me in the next couple of days, then remind me to call Alan and make sure that because that will be a great time for you guys to be on and to show you books.
Definitely.
So, James, I know you're not in Texas, you're in Virginia, but it may be worth I think the membership in this organization is $50. So for a year. So that might be something for you to consider so that you could be part of some of these kind of, because he has events all year long for authors. Anything else, Greg?
That's basically going to be about it for the year for me. I mean,
Okay.
I am going to be looking at doing comic books here before long. I'm just having to try to find an artist, which is tough because I think I want to do a split deal where percentage and not just outpay them for all the art, because that would just be too expensive.
Well, Jeremy has his hand halfway up.
Greg, I have an army of artists behind me. So you tell me what you want the look to be, and I'll match you up with a great artist.
But
Okay.
Jeremy, what price are we talking about? I mean,
It depends on the artist. That varies from artist to artist. It depends on their usually their resume is what it depends on.
Right. So let me just tag on to Greg. I went back to the site I got my cover artist from, and he was fabulous, but it was very expensive. And that was just for, the cover illustration, one illustration or one image. So for my children's book, I need like 40 images. I can't afford that. No way. So then I started asking for prices about different things. I was getting quoted from that site $8,000. So forget that. So then I went to a local artist who I'd heard of, a friend of a friend, and she wants $100 an illustration. That's $4,000. So I went to Fiverr, and Fiverr has a lot of illustrators, and most of them are overseas and they're working for nothing. So they charge $5 an illustration. So I know it's a case of you get what you pay for, but still, I'm not expecting to make thousands of dollars on this little book I'm working on.
Well, don't create that, Julie, number one. And number two, Greg. So Greg,
to make thousands of dollars on this book.
That's right. Greg, sequential artists are their own animal, and some of them charge per frame, some of them charge per page. They're a very specialized field of art. So, but they're not. Ironically, of artists, they are often not the most overpriced. The ones who do people who do sequential art really love the process of doing sequential art.
Like I said, I'd want to find somebody that can do a percent for a percent. Like a percent for the writer, percent for the artist.
Many of them would definitely be willing to do that. Okay. I just need to know what style you're looking for.
Because this is why I asked Amy to repost Monday night's blog, is because I eventually planned on, I was going to do it this year, but all hell broke loose, as we know. Eventually plan on starting a publishing comic book company, books and comic books.
Excellent. I mean, I think that's fabulous. I think the more of that's out there independent is better. When we talk about the big five, we've got the big two, right? In that industry, Marvel and DC rule the roost.
Right.
And the more indie, the better. And comic fans love indie comics. So the more, the better. And
Greg, weren't there some guys that did art at the Nerd Fest we went to?
Yes, there always is.
Yeah, but it all depends, because a lot of them want money per that they
right.
Yeah, he's looking for a partner, and that's great. And you do, and I'm telling you, for sequential art, you definitely want an artist who's going to partner with you like that, because then they bought into the story. They're really committed to all of the things. So, just what is the style of sequential art that you're looking for is the only question.
Well, the first one is probably going to end up being like a steampunk.
Okay, but I mean, are you looking black and white, real strong inks? Are you looking full color? Are you looking digital color? Are you looking traditional color?
Just traditional color, because I do plan on making it into a comic book and then also selling it online and at cons that I go to.
Okay, well, they can do digital color for that. But I mean, if you're looking for, what I mean traditional is like hand painted work. which is often more expensive than digital work. It's
No,
just,
they can
it's
do-
just
they can do
just
digital.
look at some stuff that's out there and say, I really like this, and this is what I want my book to look like, and send that to me, and I'll find the
Okay.
artist associated.
Okay,
to do
Does that work, Greg?
that works.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Jeremy.
Of course.
Athena, what is your intention for the rest of for fourth quarter? What are you planning to do?
Okay, so since James and I are planning on podcasting, I'm reading and watching videos, learning as much as I can so that I can see the ins and outs of all of that, so that we can create something with value and potential of growth. And as I hear it, there's a million podcasts, which is a good thing and a bad thing.
It
The
is.
good thing is because the bad thing is that it sounds like a lot. So you're going to get lost within a million. But the good thing is a million is nothing compared to YouTube or other video platforms, which have millions and millions, if not billions already. So in comparison, podcasting is still in the beginning stages. So if you create something that's quality, then obviously you go into, and you need to label it correctly so people can find you. You can't put some name on, like use your own name. Nobody knows who you are. So why would they find you? So it has to be specific to readers and writers so that those people find you quickly. You know, so that is what I'm looking at doing, learning as much as I can about podcasting so we produce something that's of good quality and interest to people.
I think that is absolutely great. I took away my background that I had earlier because I have a Saving America background now for Dr. Shine, and that's the name of his podcast. And we've just finished week 6. So week 6 of live streaming, which means from Facebook Live. And now we started putting, just this past week, we started putting them now on what's the name of that?
Anchor.
What is it?
Isn't it Anchor?
Anchor. We just started uploading them to Anchor, and as a matter of fact, Amy, I don't even know if you knew this or not, but Rachel, who is Dr. Shine's assistant, she said, I was just going to go on Anchor to figure it out, but it was so easy. I just went ahead and uploaded the first podcast. So so she's working on, we go live on Facebook. I send her the recording. She separates it from audio from video and puts in the music, the intro and outro. And she said she told me where she gets all the music from a free site. And she said it takes her just a very few minutes. It's very simple, not a lot of editing or anything like that. So that's what we want to start with, James and Athena. So we'll be working on that. And theirs is going to be 4 authors and readers. Is that it? Did I remember that right?
Yep, that's right.
Something like that.
So
Anchor free. Is Anchor free?
It's free. It is free.
So what I've been learning so far is that be a little bit wary of anything that's free, because what can happen is your things can go lost. You can lose them forever, and you could have libraries in there, and then you're going to be sorry that you lost them all.
Well, one of the things
Even
we're
though
doing,
you can, so even though you can use Anchor, maybe start looking at something where all your podcasts can be kept, that you know that you will never lose them.
that's true. That's absolutely true. And the first thing we're doing is they're all on YouTube. So we're putting them on YouTube first as a video.
Okay. Yeah,
as a
that's
video
good.
podcast.
Yes.
And then the audio goes to Anchor, but you're right. We can look around for another one that would house it until, so we make sure we always have it. So that is a great thing to remember, Athena. And I hear that too. You know, just be careful when you put all your content on a free site. Very good, including your website, right, Brian? Okay, Jeremy.
Damn.
Q4 Is that what you told us earlier? Is that kind of your Q4?
It
or
is.
you have-
I'll give you real quick. I'll hold on one second. Let me grab it here. I'll give you through the end of the year real quick. I have it right in front of me. Boy, these allergies have my brain foggy. I don't know if it's still the smoke going on. Things
I
have
bet
gotten
that
better.
has a lot to do with it.
It has for a while, but then it was starting to get better. But you know what? Last night when I went outside, it was I was having trouble breathing again. It's just like, really, what is happening here? Hold on, come on, why is this loading?
Jeremy, where are you in California?
I'm in Sacramento.
Okay.
Sacramento. It is the fires never hit Sacramento, Delia. But they do surround the area. It never comes to the city ever. That's
No, but I know what you're talking about because I moved to that area, not to Sacramento, but just north of San Francisco, and I had allergies continually to Santa Rosa. I had to move out of California because it was not good for my lungs and got a lot of bronchitis.
That may need to be a thing too. I mean, Southern California is the end game in 2023, but we'll see. Okay, here we go, Sandy. I did Indie Beacon Radio with Alan. That'll be out here soon within the week. I did Mildra. That's the one I was talking about, the gaming one. There's one, I have a podcast this weekend with Indie Invasion. That's another gaming one. Random Worlds is another gaming one. That's another podcast on the 23rd of September. The Kickstarter completes on the 9th. Kickstarter fulfillment by the end of the month, that month. So I don't have a date for that yet. Pre-sales launch on Halloween for book 2. Then book 1, well, and that's the release. So by that time, book 1 will be released too. Hold on. Pre-sales for Planetbound book 2 close on November 20th. Black Friday, Planetbound book 2 Kickstarter launch. And December 31st, the end of the year, is the Planetbound book 2. That's when the Kickstarter completes, is right after Christmas.
Well, I didn't realize you were going right into book 2 so quickly. So.
Oh yes, yes. In fact, it goes right to. I'll just finish it off so you know how this ends. So January is the soundtrack release and the ASL edition for book 1. It gets filmed and edited. January 11th is book 3 pre-sales open. February is the Planetbound ASL edition release. That's if it gets fully funded for the ASL edition. February is also the book is Planetbound book 2's release. February 5th is book 3's pre-sale to the 12th of, the 12th is the Kickstarter launch for book 3. I'm sorry, February 5th is when it closed because it already opened. I'll send you this calendar.
Yeah, send that all to me because that's
all the way through till April is when book 3 releases and the full trilogy releases as a box set. Like the trilogy. And then May, because they're already written, they're done, Sandy.
Right,
I mean,
right.
I just decided to divide them up.
Okay.
Because releasing them as one huge volume was that's an absurd book. It's not feasible. And then May is when we start working on the Atlas books, but that's that way it goes all the way out till April for the full trilogy to be released. Alan was like, Jer, slow it down. When I met with Alan, he was like, slow the roll on it. And I said, Alan, I agree with you. He goes, follow the seasons. Book 1 now, book 2 in April, like you're talking about for book 3, and then do book 3 this time of year next year. And I said, yes, and gaming is not novels. It is a very different animal. They want the very next thing, especially when they know it's going to be the complete core information of a system and trilogy. They're not going to want to wait that long.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know your audience.
Yeah.
That's what that's up to us to know who our target market is and how to reach them and how to sell to them. So that's great.
I will take a nap after April, though.
Oh, good.
I promise.
Good. So let's see, where are we? Julie, what are your intentions for fourth quarter? You're muted, I'm sorry.
In September, I'm completing projects. As I said, I got, I think at midnight, the final version of my audiobook. So I'm completing the audiobook. It still has to go through revision with ACX, but anyway, it's done. I'm finishing working up, getting the files for my hardback version of my book done. I'm finishing up my Christmas story for CJ and Lydia. I'm working on my children's book. And the thing I've been mentioning, the IBPA press release should be coming out on the 21st. So that's all, just finishing a lot of projects that have been in the works. In October, I'm turning to publicizing these various projects. As we just agreed, I'm going to have my audiobook launch. The AMG anthology that my short story is going to be in is launching in October sometime. I assume there'll be some kind of event connected with that. But anyway, my book is, my story is coming out in those two anthologies in October. And Greg's already mentioned the virtual book fair in October. I'm booked on CJ's book podcast, and I'm planning to do some ads on Facebook and Amazon, particularly about my Christmas ornaments set, but we'll see. So that goes back to an earlier thing we were working on, advertising. Christmas is coming up. If I'm going to do advertising,
Yep, that's a good time.
And then November, I'm going to try to start some new projects, maybe get some podcast appearances scheduled for other podcasts. Rather than me starting my podcast, I want to start with being on other people's podcasts. And December then launches. I'd like to launch my children's book in December. So that's a lot of stuff.
And don't forget the Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, and Cyber Monday. So all of you think about what you want to be doing, because we will definitely be having some campaigns during that time. Also, oh, I thought of one other thing, Julie. I'll keep thinking of it. There's something else that I wanted to.
And
besides the Black Friday, Cyber Monday, it's gone right now. I'll think about it. So, but that's great. You got your 3 months all booked up and ready and ready to go. So that's great. Good job. Brian.
I'm like, whew, between Jeremy and Julie, I'm like,
I
Come have fun with us, Brian.
I don't even know where my Christmas ornaments are, let alone buy a new one. I got a birthday coming up this end of this month. That's all I care about. No.
Well,
Happy birthday.
Brian, you weren't here when she said the other day that she has her own Christmas ornaments she's going to be selling.
Oh, no, I heard, yeah.
Oh, you
yeah.
did hear? Okay.
That was the day she gave me a big shout out for helping her with my honest review.
I know.
So, no, the biggest thing is, it's so funny because the Advertising Federation that I'm part of, our next webinar is going to be about how we market for others and don't market for ourselves. And I run a marketing company, and my website is update with the latest projects, but the design is like 2 or 3 years old. So, and then the book is 4 years old, and so I'm like, okay, it's time to look at what I do for a living and do it for myself. So I set a goal that starting next week, we're going to start looking at coming up with the new upstreammarketing.net website, and then trying to figure out, okay, being that it's 2020 and the book was written in 2016, a lot of the tips in the book are still very relevant. But after this many years, do I have to tell people not to underline online? Well, yeah, because I just had a conversation with a client, and he's like, well, we want to underline. And I go, you can't underline. Underline makes people think it's a link. Really? And I go, okay, well, I'm keeping that tip.
Keep that in there.
So maybe, because one of the comments on on the book was, it's pretty basic. You think you know this already, and I'm like, okay, maybe I need to tell people my niche doesn't know those things yet, even though it's 2020. So, but you know, it was really interesting because I was thinking about the book because you know the book really helped me grow my business and introduce me to a lot of clients. And it's kind of like, you know, it's really funny because now with COVID, I'm not face to face with clients going, hey, here's one of my books. You know, it's interesting that, you know, how do you use your book as a business card in, you know, in 2020 when you deal with clients, like most of my clients, I'd say probably 90% of them don't buy books or don't use Kindle. Now they might read a PDF, maybe, but they probably print it. So it's kind of interesting, you know, taking a look like we've been talking about all the time about niche marketing. It's kind of like, okay, you know, do you just put the book in the mail and hope they read it? So it's kind of like, that's what I was looking at for this year is, okay, for next year is, okay, what do I want to do? Well, I definitely want to do my website. You know, like I do for my clients, I definitely want to look at coming up with a new book, and then new services. I mean, you know, for me, that's a lot of the things that we're talking about. You know, I thought about, okay, maybe I should get back into blogging. Maybe I'll get back into blogging for specific things. So a lot of it is just that really soul searching as to how do I want to market myself for the fourth quarter and for next year.
Yep. And you should be thinking about podcasts too. Either.
Well, I would be glad to be a guest on anyone's podcast who wants some honest feedback about doing online marketing. And since one of my new niches is optimizing Google My Business listings for people who have a physical address, I would be glad to be on anyone's podcast that thinks that's a relevant to talk about, especially today with, you know, like I told my client just an hour ago, the thing about COVID is our face-to-face interactions are not happening. You know, the sales meetings that we normally would have are not happening. So websites, your online marketing, how people are finding you is becoming even more important than ever. And because they're getting there, you know, whether it's Kickstarter, whether it's Amazon, whether it's your website, you know, Julie now has 2 of them separate. Those are going to get more visits and more eyes because we're not sitting there face to face with each other. You know, I haven't done a networking event since February where I was in a room with 30 or 40 people. I don't know if we'll do another one of those again in the future. And so that website that you have is going to get a lot of eyes on it, but it's also going to get a lot of eyes that leave if you don't have that information that they're looking for or an easy way to do business with you. And so I'd say with authors or anybody, how easy is it to do business with you right now? You know, can I get your book through Amazon? Can I link from your website to wherever I need to get it? Are you going to ship it to me, you know, in 2 weeks or a day or whatever like that? However you want to do business with your potential clients, make it easy for them.
Yep. So we should have you back on Author Talk. It's been a while since you did that. And especially since your Cyber Monday anniversary is coming up. And
it is. I don't know. Judy goes, "Are you going to release the book again?" And I'm like, "No. Only I need a new copyright date. Only if I could change, update a couple tips and put it out for 2020 instead of 2016."
But we're not calling it a release anymore. Anyway, we're calling it a relaunch. Yeah. So you can relaunch it as many times as you want to.
I know.
But yeah.
One thing for everybody to keep in mind is if you release your book towards the end of the year, I think it starts September, you get to put a 2021 copyright date on it if you want to. And that's what I did because I released my book in December. It's got a 2021 copyright date, and that's helpful for a lot of things like contests.
Yeah.
You know, they don't want to let you go back and have, you know, enter an old book in a contest, but so having the more recent year is helpful.
Yep, that's very true. Thank you, Julie. So, yeah, Brian, and we do really need to sit down and talk about, or at least on Zoom, and talk about the next book.
Yeah.
So, yeah, let's look at doing that real soon. Do we have time to do it between now and Cyber Monday?
Oh, heck yeah. Yeah, because I'm actually thinking about, you know, it could be a relaunch. And and we get all we need to do would be, I looked at it and I'm like, I think there's about 5 tips I need to update, and we could put a 2020. That's what I was thinking about this last week, was we could put a 2021 copyright on there and change like a couple of tips and basically update it for 2021.
Yeah,
and that could just
sounds
be
great.
that almost be volume 2 versus a whole new number 2. So that's
Very
what
good.
I had on my to-do list, was, okay, let's go through all the tips, figure out which ones we want to change for 2021, relaunch the book, basically again, not as book 2, but as an updated version of it.
Yep, that's true. We can do that.
So I'm going to write this down, and Amy, can you put me on your November calendar? It sounds like October's so busy. I might have to just say,
October
can you put me on, and let me tell you, it's 2020, not November 2021.
That's true. That's true. Well, Amy and I were talking this morning, and I knew we had, September's going to be gone. And she goes, I got to start booking people for October. So that's done now. So it'll be November. So thank you, Brian. Good to see you. James Hill.
Yes. Okay. So fourth quarter stuff. Well, Athena already spoke about podcasts, so I won't say anything about that. But we're moving forward on that. Tomorrow is International Talk Like a Pirate Day.
Oh, that's right.
So I shall be pushing out information about Tell, the Emerald Lady, because that has pirates and mermaids. And I'm also going to be working on getting the Ruby Cradle, which is the second story in the series, the Gemstone series, finished, so I can push that out by the end of November, beginning of December. I'm actually thinking probably that we'll do the launch or something like that towards the end of November.
Well, that'll be on Cyber Monday, don't forget.
Yeah, Cyber Monday. We're going to do something for Rock Hill Publishing, press release and a release about what we did over the summer. So we have an update for the four releases we did.
I just remembered what it was when you said that about the press release. For Julie and anyone else who is their short story is a winner of Allen in Allen's competition. You're not part of that one, right, James?
No, I'm not part of that one.
Okay, so Julie, I forget who else. Amy, do you remember when you come back? I think there's 4. Do you remember Julie?
Kathy Horizon, Rox and Charles. We all have stories.
Okay, that would be you, Rox and Charles and Kathy. I thought there were 4.
Maybe you have
I thought CJ or Lydia was one too. Didn't one of them win?
They may be, yes. So so we have the press release already done. Kathy Horizon wrote that press release. I have it. We'll be sending that out the first week in October. Alan had asked that we not send it out. But instead of doing a press release for Julie and one for Kathy, and we're doing a press release for all of the Through the Eyes of Authors members that have short stories that won in there. So, okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry, James. I've got to say that before I forget.
I know how it is.
Okay.
And since you said that, I got to remember, I'm going to be on CJ's and Lydia's anthology. So that comes out.
Yes, I did see that. Yes.
Yes. So that comes out. Tomorrow, I'm also doing something with the HRW, which is the Hampton Roads Writers. We have a webinar tomorrow. So I'll be all day in the webinar with them. And then let's see what else. Oh, in November is NaNoWriMo Mode. So I'll be working on the third book in the Gemstone series, which is why I want to get the second book of the Gemstone series out.
Yep.
So I'll start working on that in November. I'm going to try to.
Then you have David's book to finish up by October, by Halloween.
Yep. So there's David's book to be released. That will be the last release of other people other than maybe myself if I get the Ruby Cradle done, which I'm going to get the Ruby Cradle done. You know how long it's been? That book is like 3 years old now.
Oh, gosh.
And
it's time that you finish it then.
Yes, it is time to finish. So I need to get that one out and done. So that's going to take up the rest of my year, I think, between the podcast, the release of the Ruby Cradle, NaNoWrite mode, which takes up that entire month. And during NaNoWrite mode, I really can't do anything else because, trying to get almost 2,000 words out a day is grueling.
Greg, I do see what you said. About, is it November 2nd? I thought it was November 1st.
Everything that I've seen has said November 2nd.
Okay, good. Then, so Greg just sent me a note that November 2nd is National Author Day. So
yeah,
all of you plan to be doing something on that day, and I'll be starting we got October though, but I'll be posting things in October that for you to give you some ideas for Author Day. And then Jeremy, do you have your hand up?
Sorry, November 2nd, you said?
That's what Julie said.
Okay.
Not Julie. Who said that then? Greg. Sorry. Wow. Okay. So it's either the 1st or 2nd for sure. And Greg says 2nd, so that's fine with me. So we'll just know we'll do something. And one of the things I'm going to be doing next week, I'm going to be emailing you or posting it in the Facebook group. I have like a whole book practically of special days in every month, or not just special days, but ideas for press releases in every month. And your job is to look at those and say, yes, I could tie something from my book into this, whatever it is. So National Author Day is one. I mean, November 11th is Veterans Day. If you are a veteran, if your parent was a veteran, if something about Veterans Day, makes a great press release because the media gives a lot of attention to that. So we have lots of days coming up for the rest of this year, but I want you to take a look at a whole year, and I want us to kind of map out, okay, I could do a press release this month on this topic, and I want us to kind of map it out. So, James, were you done, or did I interrupt you?
I got one or two more things to say.
Okay.
As far as podcasts go, I'm going to be on a podcast like October. I don't know. It's the second Saturday in October. I don't know what day that is. So I'm doing that one, and it's called something like Keeping It Real with Carmela Lucas. Carmela Lucas is the one who does it, or Keeping It 100 with Carmela Lucas. So I'll be doing that. I think it's the second week in October. And I'm talking to Corinne. I'm going to call her after I get off of this. Corinne LaFont. I've done a couple of podcasts with her. So we're going to do one so we could talk about what we did over the summer. She started her podcast when I started the Killer series, Killer with a Heart. So she had just started. So we have been going back and forth over the couple of years. And I've been on her podcast a couple of times. So
that's great.
I reached out to her. We're going to do another one. Very
good. Brian, I have a podcast that you might be interested in. I just booked David Shine on there, but they're looking for business owners, and it's out of the UK. But I mean, they were very interested in getting some people from the US on there. So I'll send you that information. She was very, very responsive. She is very responsive. Okay, did I interrupt you again, James?
Nope, I'm done. I think that's it.
Okay. So Delia, is Delia the last one, Amy? Did I miss anybody? Okay, so Delia, what are your plans for the fourth quarter?
Well, as I've been mentioning, following up with the translation, one of the things that we're talking about is the illustrations to be in color. So I'm pricing what that will cost because it might draw more sales. In the middle of the hurricane coming, I finally was able to deal with making sure that she gets paid because I didn't want to get into the mailing system in Puerto Rico and then, my vendor in 3 weeks gets paid because you want to really stimulate people to keep working on your project. Listening to all of you, I would just say, I'm in this one-room classroom and I'm in kindergarten and they're all in 6th grade. So, but I'm not going to let that really get to me because I've had the setbacks that I've had. And if I still keep going, and the book is alive. I'm going to keep pushing it.
And I think everybody will works at their own, wherever they are in this whole publishing world. And so you're in a good place, I think.
So the other piece is the podcast that you and I talked about doing, the videos of the follow-up with vignettes of family members and what they're doing that's creative. And I guess what I'm understanding, that's an offshoot of what they talked about.
Well, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be. It's just the stories. You're
Yeah,
you're so good with stories.
Right.
I just want you to tell some of those stories.
I'm good with the stories, and then my family are storytellers too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, you heard them; they're very good storytellers. There was just a call from my niece, and then I made an outreach to them, and they're all busy. They all have busy lives, and they've been so generous with their time. So I don't want to overuse this. So I could go to my own storytelling and then have the podcast about.
And that's a great place to start, is you telling a story.
Yeah. Okay. The other thing, I've done some follow-ups on the possibilities of the ones I talked about before, which was targeting the counselors and teachers. And everybody's on a standstill for committing to any in-service or doing some extra things for their colleges. And that's kind of sort of the market that I see. I don't have the mindset of getting myself out there to something that I don't know where it is, and that I'm going to offer something and then I'm going to offer a series to an unknown and try to sell. I don't know how to do that yet. I don't have any confidence in doing that. So I have to really get myself to that. I will be soon in the market for people that are going to help me do the next book. And the standstill on the book, I mean, in a way, was a little triggered by some of the comments here, especially Jeremy, when he talked about that I could be sued, And I'm really keeping in mind, because I'm going out of the comfort zone of my family who are not going to sue me. And that I have next to me that I can consult while I'm writing the book, or as I wrote the book, and get their permission and having them feel comfortable that they're well portrayed. So what I do understand about memoirs, about what I read and the workshops that I've been in, is that if you're not authentic about what happened and you skip things, you start becoming unbelievable to the reader, because the reader can read these kind of sort of lapses, how do you leap from this to that? So although I have my outline and I have some stories, I'm kind of sort of within my own soul revisiting what is it what story do I want to reveal that may be very significant about changes and transformations that have happened without exposing somebody that could sue me, and do I make a shift to making something that's fiction now, which for me at this point feels artificial, but I'm a newbie, so I don't know. People do that. They start with their own.
Well, remember what we talked about was I want you just to write down some stories that you remember, either you will tell them or you'll bring in the person that was part of the story besides you to tell them. So some of your sisters or your nieces, and you got this huge family, your son even. So I want you just to come up with like 5 to 10 somewhere in there, and then we'll get started doing those. We'll talk about the story, you'll tell the story, and we'll close. So it'll be about 15-20 minutes is all. So we'll record some of those and get those to Amy, so she can start putting, Amy and Lydia, so they can start putting them out there on your social media. So as soon as you come up with the ideas, just enough to get us started, then we'll go ahead and record 2 or 3 of them each week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Yay, we are moving along. Jeremy, did you have your hand up?
I was just going to say to Delia, another thing too, you're the only memoir gal among us, and it's a completely different animal too. So I don't want the mindset of, oh, look at these 6th graders and I'm here in kindergarten. That's not accurate. it's just a very different genre than what's.
It is, and I'm looking for for a community of
Yeah, so, well, Rebecca will be part of that. She's a memoir writer, the one who visited us. She'll visit us again on Monday night. She loved listening to you talk. She loved the advice she got. She set up her own LLC. She learned so much from that night. She'll be back on next Monday. So you'll have another memoir gal among us. That community will grow.
Mm-hmm. And so that, you know, besides this community, I am looking for that community, and I'm listening to what Tina says, and I'm listening to what James said. And, you know, the experience that I had in writing was that I had a seamless situation of a coach, editor, and all of this that moved me through that. And it's kind of sort of too much to expect of myself. I, who don't have a background in writer or an aspiring writer, for me to be able to do all the kinds of things that I hear you all saying. So I need to really find somebody that will be able to work with me. That I did pay well to the person who did that. And I, you know, that she's still in the list of consideration. But I have to say, because I am among family, if somebody's going to work with you so very closely, and then they're going to omit a certain space that was not included in the contract, and then that's going to be reflected someplace else when it comes that it wasn't included, and then they're getting money from publishing, you know, from going to the next step, using to do the kind of thing that was not included, and they're going to wound you with that. I have a wound in writing. I don't need somebody else to wound me in writing. So,
Delia,
yeah.
The thing that you said about being in the first grade, the good thing about going in with people who have been there before is that you can learn from all the hard mistakes we have made.
I know.
So you don't have,
I know.
yeah,
and
you don't have to make them.
No. And I have the history, if you write my book, like being the youngest, I know how to really feel great and comfortable with everybody that knows everything and asking and navigating that. I do feel very comfortable with that.
Yeah. And
But
even though you're writing memoirs, you are still telling a story.
Oh,
So
yes.
people who write fiction, they are making up their story, but they are still telling the story about somebody's life. The only difference between memoirs and fiction writers is you're writing mostly about your own life and details that has happened to you. Whereas a fiction writer, we might be taking details from our life and just adding them to a character that doesn't really exist.
No,
and a lot of times that is what fiction writing is.
Yes,
we will take parts of our life.
Yeah, I agree with you. And this is why I thought about the shift into fiction. And but I think that the other thing, and I may be hypersensitive, somebody who writes a memoir says, this is me. So
right, that's the whole thing.
That's
it's
a big
your name in the story, and as the story writer, it is your name.
Yeah, and so it adds to that sensibility. And, you know, it's like, when it comes to the time of my marriage with my husband, I have no problem with that. Because that's the father of my child, and the relationship that we have, we've had incredible times together. We had incredible things that we had in common, which is music, travel. And, you know, all of those issues, what I'm going to mention are things that are, I know how to mention things that are beautiful about relationships, even though that is in the wayside and in a different place. But I am going to have to face some stories that I've already written that is going to be including some people, and that maybe be putting in the light of the previous characters, like my sister who just passed away, that is going to affect my niece, of the tensions that happened when I was an adolescent.
And I think that's something that, like, I would love to write my story sometimes, but I have to be careful because my ex-husband is still alive, and I don't want to hurt my kid's father.
But I'm saying whoever works with me, this is why I feel I need a mentor. I don't want to use you all for mentors in here. Is somebody who really knows how to handle memoirs and how to handle these things, so that I don't end up creating myself a block about something that I can be coached into. How do I do that artfully without making the story flat?
And you know that's a great thing. Talk about the coach, because that's one of the things that Fern does. She is a coach, and so is Roger Leslie, a coach. So we can introduce you to people who are writers, coaches, and they may be able to help you through that. So that's great, Delia. Thank you for that. Thank you all for sharing. Fourth quarter, here we come, COVID or not. So have a great weekend, and I will see you Monday morning. Kathy Horizon is the guest on Author Talk. Amy, you had something?
No, I don't. I was just saying Monday morning.
Okay, so Monday morning, Author Talk, Kathy Horizon, and then Monday night will be Fern again talking about publishing. So if you missed last Monday, you need to get that recording and start watching it. Jeremy.
No, I was just gonna say that exactly, and I was just waving by and saying thank you, Sandy, and thank you, Amy.
Okay, thank you, Jared. Thanks, Brian. See you guys.
Great.
See you Monday.